Now, if we talk about the native speakers, what they do, they listen a lot, and English comes to them as a natural process. Spontaneously, they learn this language. Automatically, it comes to their mind because they are very much habituated to listen to everything. Because you can call it a kind of comprehensible input too. Like we give something to our brain and then only we take it out in some way or the other. Like we can comprehend something that is understandable in two ways, like reading and listening. So hello friends, how are you? So have you noticed the background of mine today? I thought that I need to change a little, I need to switch things up a little, That's why I'm sitting in my classroom and I'm making my video from here only. So today again, I've come to tell you something very important, and this important thing is everybody knows about it. It's very known to everybody because the thing which I'm going to tell you, it's very common, and common means, you know that there are 4 skills of learning English that are LSRW. So today we are going to talk about listening rule. That is very important, because most of the people, they ignore this rule. They think that speaking is the most important rule. I am not denying this fact, but still you need to know one thing, that speaking comes from listening. Until and unless you have a content, you cannot speak good English. So that is why your English is very much dependent on your listening part. And one thing I can't understand, let me tell you one thing, that why people ignore this thing, They know it very well that this is the only source for speaking in English. Let's talk about the small child, what it is. A small child or babies, they learn to speak in English or learn to speak in their mother tongue or their native language only by listening. You cannot deny this fact. This is very true, They only learn by imitating, by listening. So that is why listening is very much needed, Indirectly things happen when you are, engulfing yourself with lots of listening things, and you are a kind of things you are adopting, you are just putting those things into your mind. It means, when you are using your ears to listen things become very easy for you to understand, and you get to know lots of things about English, because whenever you are speaking, you have to get more and more content. You need to have lots of content to speak on. So that's why if you are speaking something, for that you need to listen a lot. Listening is very important thing, and the more you listen, the better you become. So that's why listening gives you an insight into this language. You get to know about this language. You get to know the nitty-gritty of this language. You get to know about the rules of the language, and in one word you can say that it just etched on your mind. It remains there in your mind for a long time. So that is why listening is very important. Though we know that our traditional school don't give much emphasis on listening thing. Rather, they prefer to make student learn the textbook. So textbook reading is okay. While when you are learning from textbook, it's giving you the knowledge of the world. It gives you the knowledge of the language. It tells you about the, grammar things. It tells you about the sentence construction. That is okay. But when you listen something, it remains in your mind for a long time. It works as a fuel for you to ignite the thing which you really want to have in your conversation. So keep going your conversation. You need to listen a lot. Directly you can listen, or indirectly you can listen, keeping your phone beside you and listen podcast or listen stories. That will also help you a lot, because in this way you are going to create something, you are going to develop a kind of what you call, that is a kind of imagination in your mind. You get to know about the language, through listening. So many things happens together, like you come to know about the vocabulary words, you come to know about the phrases, you come to know about the idioms, and at the same time you are learning grammar too, in an implicit way you can call it. So because this method is very much adopted by English learners. Many researchers have been done on this thing, and they found that language listening is the most easiest way to grab this language, grab the language. And suppose, when you keep on listening, many things happens together. Like if you come across with some sound, like your sound is very much, your knowing of some words, it depends on the sound, that how many times you have heard that sound. Like some new words, if you come across with some new words, so that word, it actually remains in your mind. Your mind is immediately get to know about that word, because already he or she has heard this word before. So this is the thing, that it's very much depends on the sound which you acquire. And if you are acquiring the sound frequently, it remains in your mind for a long time, and it becomes a kind of habit for you to know that particular word. Just think logically about it. You will find that the small baby, when it first learn to speak the language, what they do, they actually first, they don't know much about grammar, they don't know about language structure, they don't know about test and textbook. So how they are able to speak in English, So this is the thing, they listen a lot, and in indirect way they are listening a lot, and in this way they get to know lots of things about the language. So that's why I'm telling you that even if you are adopting so many methods to learn this language, you have adopted so many procedures, so many methods, so many strategies to learn this language, but if you are spending your 80% of apart from other strategies which you have adopted, 80% of that strategies should be of listening, because listening gives you so much benefits that you cannot even think about it. So even if you are studying in college or university or school, you will find that teacher most of the time they give emphasis on learning textbook. They give more emphasis on learning textbook rather on communication skill, rather giving much pressure on communication skill. Even though they have communication skill, that happens for only once in a week or once in a month, So that is the reason that this subject, English remains a kind of subject for us. It never becomes a kind of language, because for a long time you have been learning this language, but still when you speak about this language, you are not able to express fully yourself in this language, and the reason is that you have been learning it as a subject, not as a language, doing all your exercises, answering the questions and learning vocabulary words, but you are never taken it as a language to speak. It is okay that if you are learning this language just to take a degree, it's okay, everything is okay, but if you really want to speak this language, then your degrees etc will not work for you. So that means you need to speak this language, you need to work on this language, how to speak. It should not be a subject only. So it's okay that you get to know more about this language, you learn how to do translation, you know about the rules of grammar, you know how this language works, you know more about this language, but we will not be able to speak in English because you have not been giving much emphasis on learning this language. Now, if we talk about the native speakers, what they do, they listen a lot, and English comes to them as a natural process. Spontaneously they learn this language, automatically it comes to their mind because they are very much habituated to listen to everything. Because you can call it a kind of comprehensible input too, like we give something to our brain and then only we take it out in some way or the other. Like we can comprehend something that is understandable in two ways, like reading and listening. So reading is also important when you read something important, which when you read something which really gives you a kind of insight into this language. And second is listening. Listening is very, very important because the more you listen, the better your conception about this language becomes, and automatically you get to know about the sound, you get to know about the sentence construction, you get to know about the structuring of the sentences. Everything happens, and in indirect way. So our speaking things only emerges through listening, because we develop, a kind of experience in our mind after listening a lot, and then only it comes out. It emerges as a speech, as a conversation. So we should give it a time, we should give our mind a lot of material for listening. So you can say that English learning is a unconscious process, it's happening, but without your understanding, you don't know how it is happening, because it happens indirectly in a very slow process. Like you can take an example of a seed, the potential of learning language, that is a seed, it remains there forever. So what we do, for a seed to grow, we need lots of water, sunlight, air, etc. So in this way, the potential of learning, so speaking, it comes from the outer things, that is listening. So if we keep on listening things, so it becomes, it grows, and very slowly it grows. It takes its times to grow, and it grows, very naturally, very beautifully, spontaneously it grows, and we are able to speak English in a very nice way. But the base should be there now. This base can be made by listening a lot. If we are giving lots of input of listening to our mind, we are able to speak more and more and more. So listening leads speaking and pulls it along. And one more thing I would like to tell you, that English conversation is quite different from English day-to-day conversation. Okay, like if we talk naturally to somebody, we need to use the colloquial words or sentences, isn't it? And even you find that advanced learner of English language, they find it very difficult to speak in their day-to-day English conversation, the language, because the language is also quite different. When we speak our day-to-day English, we use the phrasal verb like turn up, or walk away, or get away. So these type of words we often use when we converse with someone, and so that is why these two things are totally different, when you are conversing with someone, when you are using day-to-day language, and when you are using the written type of English. So there is a big difference between these two things. So what you need to do, that you need to listen a lot of conversational videos podcast, etc., so that you get to know about the daily conversation or colloquial or slang, words, which would help you to keep your conversation ahead when you're talking to somebody.